Alright, so today what we're going to do, I got this front axle fabbed up the other night after work. That's why I didn't video it. I just wanted to get it knocked out and get it done. So basically this thing is just 1x2 rectangle tubing. I cut like a 62.5 degree angle on it, removed the piece, bent this up, welded it, cut the same degree on this side. That'll make it parallel. Also, when I welded these up, I gave it 2 degrees camber, 7 degrees Casper, the ghost, you know, because it helps with your alignment. Caster. So I got some DOM tubing here, 3/4, 1/8 inch. I went and purchased some 3/4 bolts, axles, and I got these welded up last night. I may or may not have filmed it, I don't remember, but if it is, it'll be in the video. But anyway, with this tubing being 1/8 inch wall, it's already got a 1/2 inch ID, so the only thing I've got to do is kind of just clean the little bit of rust or dirt out of it, and then I'll have a nice 1/2 inch bolt here, which will be my kingpin, and a lock nut and washers and whatever. I'll also drill this and put a grease zerd in it so I can grease it and keep everything loose and nothing's binding. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and get these marked out, centered up, drill these out. We'll test fit our axles and spindles or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to definitely have to have some spacers for the axle piece, just to get my wheelbase where I want it, track width, whatever. So this is my front axle. I probably should have filmed it, but it is what it is. I just wanted to get it knocked out one day after work. So again, 1x2 rectangle tubing. I think I went overall was like 24 inches wide to start with on the tube. I cut a 67-ish degree angle right here, and tucked the top piece out, folded it up, and then cut the same angle here and there, which would make it parallel. And a buddy of mine from work, shout out to Rocky, he cut me a couple pieces of 2x4 rectangle tubing, 1/4 inch, that he had at his shop, scrap laying around. So I went ahead and cut the ends off of those. I still got to drill the holes for the spindles, but that'll be my knuckles. So that's all welded up, and we're going to get after these spindles. All right, so what I also, just a quick note, when I set these knuckles, I guess you could say, I set them at 7 degrees caster, and I gave myself 2 degrees camber, just to try to help with stability and keeping the wheel straight. But anyway, back to the thing here. So here's some heavy wall, 3/4 DOM. It's 1/8 inch, so the ID on it's 1/2 inch. So that's what I'll use, a 1/2 inch bolt nut through here for my kingpin. But this will go here, and then I'll weld this 3/4 bolt to that, and then that'll be my spindle for my wheel. Well, I picked these up this weekend. I got two 15 6x6s and two 18 by 850 by 8s, are the big ones. Granted, the tires are shot, dry rotted, whatever, I don't care. The main thing is I got wheels for free. So I actually got 2 of these from my brother and 2 from my dad. So we're gonna put new bearings in the front, and I'll obviously buy 4 new tires. We'll use these at least. Fronts for sure, backs I don't know. I might have to figure out something back there, but either way, free wheels, pretty cool. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take my marker, color this in. That'll give me a nice area to scribe. So, take my little square here, get my knife out. So this is 1.5 width. So a buddy of mine, Rocky, from work, had some 2x4 rectangle tubing laying around at his place. He cut these out real quick on his bandsaw. I went ahead and cut the flat edge off one side, which will give me a nice little knuckle. So I'm going to mark this at 3/4. I'm going to use the little notchy here. I can drag this along, maybe. Get a little deeper in
it. That's what she said?
Maybe drag it. Be better. Like that. And then we'll do the same thing here. On this, I'll go 1 inch. Hopefully you can see that. And you can see it. So that'll give me a nice little scribe line. We'll get us a center punch. Punch it, step it up little by little, and get to our 1/2 inch. So we've got our holes drilled. I'm going to get a little cone bit deal and kind of clean up these chamfers or grinder or something. But off camera, I went ahead and took a drill bit, drilled these out, cleaned them up. I went to a local hardware store today, picked up some grade 8 hardware axles, and we're going to use those 1/2 inch grade 8 by 13. I have regular nuts I'm going to put on it, but I actually have nylocks that I'm going to use, and I still may even drill them and put like a Carter pin in them or whatever. But just for testing purposes only, we're going to put those on it. But let's go ahead and get these spindles on. Okay. So I want this thing as low as I can get it in the front. So when I weld these spindles together, I instead of just like centering them up on the, hold that thought. Instead of just welding them up center on here, I actually offset them like 1 inch. So that way I can mess with my rad height. It gives me 1 inch of play up or down that I can mess with. So we'll see how it sits, and then we'll make an adjustment from there. It's tighter than a midget's fist. And I didn't get my other washers enough. Yeah. Loosey goosey, it's what we want. Alright, let me move all this stuff. You guys ever find that you don't ever have enough space? I went from a basement garage to a big garage, and I still don't have any room. I just don't understand it. Okay. So initially, I wanted to use like a spoke bicycle style wheel on the front, but again, I got free wheels and tires. I can't complain. So that's what we're going to use. I'm going to grab one. So let's see what we got. So that's pretty good. I got a lot of meat out here.
That's what she said. That's what she said. That's what she said.
Got a couple washers on here to eat up the distance. I don't know what the overall track width of this unit's going to be. So that gives us room to play with it at least. Okay. There's one. Well, the thing just barely fits on the table, doesn't it? Okay. So I kind of dig that. That's like 5 inches probably off the ground. I don't, and of course there's like 0 air in tires because they're dry rotted. But I'll throw some cribbing blocks back here. So this is 3.5 because lumber's weird. It's never true dimension unless you're dealing with rough cut. So that's a level chassis. I kind of think that I want a little bit of a rake to it. Kind of want that nose down look. So we got to weld a steering tab on here. So I probably will space them out just a scooch more, probably an inch, I guess, would be plenty. That'll give me enough room for my tab, clearance for the tie rod, palm joint, whatever. I think I'm gonna run my steering under the bottom here. Let's go up another 1.5 inches. Also, off camera, I drilled and put nutserts in the tubes here to mount the body down. So the next big deal I got to get is the torque converter, and then I'll know whether or not the chain is going to run on the inside or the outside of the frame. I would prefer inside the frame, and then I'll run like jack shafts down below. Also, another reason why I need a little bit more ground clearance. But I think that's pretty good there. I'll probably cut a couple spacers out of some tubing, and we'll go outside. So outside we're 35 inches, which is not bad because I'm considering like a 40 or 42 inch rear axle, and those tires are a lot bigger. They're like an 18 by 6.5, 8.5, whatever it is. So they're wider. So that'll give us probably 48 almost on the rear. So I think that's cool. Gives us the narrow front, wide rear. This thing ought to be pretty stable. I don't see this thing rolling over. Get these stuck back up on there. Probably should go get gloves, because I know as soon as I don't, it's going to burn my arm off. Okay, so the only thing I need is a piece to cap the ends, and as long as that thing hasn't drawled at all, it should just be 12 inches. We'll see. 12 on the dot. I don't know if you can tell, but 12. Cool. So I'll go cut a piece 12 inches, and I'm gonna end up filling the ends of it just so it looks, you know, like a traditional frame. But for today, we'll just go ahead and cap this end with that piece, tack it on, and then I'll come back later and make a little, even if it's sheet metal insert, and fill it. This is that time where I forgot to turn the camera on. I went ahead and cut these two just to extend it out a little bit. That way I can either mount my axle this way or this way. It just depends on how I'd place it on the rear. But we got a little bit of spring action going on. So I'm going to use this handy dandy frame machine and pull this together and get a tack on it, and it should be good. This is the part where all my tacks break. Turn the old welder down a little bit. Tell you what, I'm pretty impressed with this little welder I bought. Had it now for about a year, a little over maybe. This thing's pretty awesome. Does a good job. Wonder how square this thing is. It's a pretty decent gap. Of course, I'm not a carpenter, but I do a little bit of fab time to time. 57 and 16, corner to corner. $57 on the nose. Well, I'll take a 16th. I'm sure that all the store-bought ones are perfect. So, put a couple more welds on this guy, and we'll throw the tub back on it. Bought a crate engine today for the old hot rod go-kart. So I went and got just a plain old 212 Predator non-Hemi. So from what I read online, these are the ones that you can do the most modifications to. This thing's going to be mainly for the kids, but at least I'll get my feet wet with it a little bit on what I can and can't do and what'll work and make it better and faster. So do a little unboxing here. The old destructions. We won't need that where we're going. Spark plug socket tool. These engines are extremely cheap. $149. I mean, we want to keep this thing as low buck as we can, but I mean, eventually you got to spend some money, right? So one of my subscribers from Canada, I believe it's Saskatchewan, if I'm saying that right, I hope. You know, he kind of been pushing for me to keep it as low budget as I can, which realistically I want to. But eventually, right, I mean, you got to spend some money, right? Do I go buy someone else's engine off of Marketplace or whatever? Yeah, I run this thing in my go-kart last season and it runs great. And I, you know, pay 120 bucks for it and it's junk. So at least I know that I got a good engine from the get-go. So that's what I'm doing. So basic stuff, you know, make sure it's got gas and fuel stabilizer in it. Add engine oil before you run it. We're not going to run it. I think what I'm going to do is kind of tear into it a little bit. I've been doing a little research online. So here's like a low oil pressure shutdown switch. This is part of it. Of course, then you have your regular on-off kill switch. But I think I'm going to go ahead and delete this, which that'll be tearing into the engine. And I'll make a video too on it. Also, I'm going to remove the governor, which is buried up under here with your throttle linkage and whatnot. So that's going to be the race motor here, if you will. I probably will take a lot of this stuff off, put a nicer air cleaner on it. We're going to probably make our own exhaust pipe for it. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys the engine. Went and picked it up today. So there it is. Predator 212. If you're not familiar with them, look them up. They're here in the States. It's called Harbor Freight. They sell them, I think, up in Canada. It's like Princess Auto. I'm sure they sell them up there too. It's a Honda clone engine. That's all it is. 6.5 horsepower, but there's these engines out there making 18, 19 horsepower with light and flywheels and aluminum rods, and we don't need that where we're going on this thing, but maybe on the next project, if we decide to do another one, we'll really hop it up. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. We do have like a, I don't know, 3/16 gap underneath the bed part of it to the frame, which is not the end of the world. I could even clip these little spot welds and drop it down, which I may do just so everything's touching. But I think I'm still going to put like a thin piece of rubber underneath all the body stuff just to keep the, you know, the engine harmonics. I don't want the body vibrating and making a bunch of noise or whatever. So that's probably what we'll do. Just cut those and drop it down, tack it back on. The chassis is pretty much done, other than mounting a live axle on the rear. But front end wise of the body, I've debated on getting another wheelbarrow, cutting the front nose off of it and grafting it on here and closing it up, which I've seen a few people do. I mean, it's not a bad idea, right? But I've got some ideas that I think I might do. I think I might actually build like a little floorboard you'll be able to put your foot, your heel will set in, then you'll have your pedals anyway. It may or may not work out. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I think it'll work out. So also, while I got you guys here, we're at the point of, do we paint this thing or do we keep it like ratty looking, multicolored, whatever? I'd kind of like to have it all pretty much a color with a little bit of rust and dirt and patina and whatever. That's my preference. If we do paint it, do we go back and do the faux patina? I'm not saying I'm going to do a show car quality paint job on this thing, but I mean, do we keep it all one color and then, you know, go back to the distressed and look, whatever, distressed look? Put it down in the comments. Let me know what you think. I want to thank you guys for subscribing. Follow along on this little build we got going. It's actually picked up a lot of traffic on my channel, new people. This channel was originally directed toward the Vega that I have. That's a whole lot of cutting and welding on that. That's a full tube chassis build. I need to get back focused on that thing a little bit too. Maybe do a video of both, or one week, one the next week, whatever. There's a lot of work to do on that thing, a lot of content there to be made. So I just want to thank you guys for watching, subscribing, and sharing. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I want to kind of, even though the name's Boosted Vega Racing, that's just the name that I picked. I want a diverse channel. I want stuff like this. Maybe we'll get into a mini bike eventually, build one, fix one up, whatever. The Vega is going to be a lot of content in the future. If you guys are new, hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, share it with a friend, and it really helps the channel out, helps it grow. My goal is by the end of the year, I would like to be up around 5,000 subscribers, which we're around 3,800. I think it's doable. So I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.